I didn't know what I know, being raised the way I was, would my son have ended up in a really bad way? Like, would he have committed suicide? Or would he have hurt himself seriously? I just think there need to be certain checks. You know, I know that our healthcare system is really under the pump at the moment, but I feel like you've got all these children who are in a lot of difficult situations, socially, medically. We're giving our kids all these different types of medication. There need to be, my opinion is, there need to be certain checks where either a doctor or a nurse will follow up with each of these kids and say, hey, look, parent, how is your kid doing?
Or Dr.
I don't know his last
Dr.
name.
X for
Dr. L. Dr. L. So we were seeing the same doctor, the child psychiatrist, and he also works at the hospital. So he kind of works at CCDHB and at CAM's clinic. And we were seeing him on a regular basis. So we were not discharged to the GP until, I think, 2 or 3 years into the diagnosis. So my son Eli was being seen by the doctor. And then we were discharged into the GP's care. When he would have a growth spurt and the dosage needed to be adjusted, we would tell the doctor would put in a referral back to CAMS, and then we would get an appointment. And it used to be quite quick. And we've seen significant delays now. And like I was saying before, he's now on a 7 to 12 month waiting list for a dosage review.
So did they change any process, procedure or something in terms of referral, or it's still the same?
So the process that I know of is being at CAMS, so you see the doctor, and then if everything is going well, so he would adjust the medication appropriately to what he thought would be a good dosage for Eli. And that was all based off of the teacher's notes. So his school's quite good. They take regular notes, and we have regular meetings about how Eli is progressing in school. They take notes, behavioral changes, or is he lacking in this area? And then based on that information, plus our observations as parents, he would do a dosage assessment and see how it goes for a few months, come back. If he was fine, then he would discharge us back into the GP's care. And the GP, of course, can do a repeat prescription, but GPs don't have the same access to medication as a psychiatrist.
So repeat prescription, but they cannot change the dosage?
I don't believe that they have the ability to adjust, because I think the adjustment and the changing of medication is only done by a clinical psychiatrist. I mean, the GP has said that she feels that he does need a dosage change. Recently, because he has grown.
Because it has something to do with proportion and the size and height.
So he's quite tall and lanky for his age. So he's not underweight. He's still he eats heaps, which is great. But for him, he's tall, lanky, so he doesn't really need a larger dose. Whereas some kids his age. So basically, there was a scale a scale that they use. So for him, he was on 20 milligrams in the morning and 7.5 at lunch because he's on the quick release methylphenidate. That wasn't working any longer. So the GP said, let's get a referral into the pediatric department, see if they can do a review and then change the medication. They came back quite quickly and they changed his medication from methylphenidate to Ritalin, the slow release. And within a week, we saw significant behavioral changes. He was hitting his head, he was agitated, he wasn't sleeping, he was pacing back and forth, he had extreme anxiety, he had suicidal thoughts. So we called the GP, and basically the GP was like, right, that is a side effect, unfortunately, of this medication, so let's take him off and put him back on methylphenidate, the slow release. But instead of doing the request that we originally wanted was a dosage assessment by CAMS, we were put in a waiting list to see the pediatric department at the hospital. So I went back to the GP and I said, I know you were trying to do us a solid here and reduce our waiting, but I don't think it's done us any favors so can you put in another referral to CAMS? And because it seems like there's only one doctor working there, which is our doctor, and because he's working in a clinical setting in a hospital as well, he's having to share his time, and we're on a 7 to 12 month waiting list just to get a dosage review.
Did they tell you about the side effect of that?
For Ritalin?
Yeah.
No. So we were, yeah. I mean, that's...
But should they be telling, regardless of who the GP is or who the doctor is or who prescribed it, should they be telling you the side effect of what's potentially gonna...
I have a habit of asking a lot of questions. When we go to the hospital or the GP or CAMS, I ask as many questions as possible, and I always ask about the side effects. But I guess I stupidly assumed that Ritalin and methylphenidate, they're in the same family. It's just quick versus slow release. I thought that it wouldn't have anything extra that we hadn't experienced already. But I think that it is necessary that anytime you're prescribing something, you always go through, this is the fullest of side effects. These are the most common side effects. These are the not so common side effects.
And what to do.
What to do in these situations. Because both of my parents were doctors, and so I have quite an unusual background, or childhood of being raised in a medical setting, basically.
That's why you knew all about those medicines and terminology, like, okay, how can you memorize those terms? For me, it's like, all gone. So I sort of know the medical terminology. I know put him in a different school system because he's year 6 going on year 7, so he's got 2 more years at Teatro, and then he will be in college. And that's scary for me because he's at his school at the moment is very small classrooms. And that's gonna be a bigger school.
Oh yeah. So all the Bryce kids, the Bryce males, go to Rongotai College. Ooh. We've been 3 generations that have gone to Rongotai College. They know the teachers, they know everyone there basically. And my brother-in-law is the rugby coach.
Ooh.
Eli's not interested in rugby. He's like,
because of the touching.
Don't touch me. Yeah. he was kind of interested in swimming for a while, but then he doesn't like the competition because he's quite hard on himself. So if he loses or if he doesn't get something straight away, he gets very frustrated. And he's very emotional. So he'll start to cry, and then he says, I just can't do it, and I'm stupid. I'm like, no, you're not stupid. You just have to calm down and take a second and try and figure it out. But college is a bit of a nerve-wracking experience.
Now I'm gonna start thinking about it at an early stage, but let's see. Whew, you're making me nervous.
Oh my God, I'm sorry.
No, that's all right.
I'm just so paranoid. I'm like, you can't monitor your kids all the time, and I'm overprotective parent, but
yeah, and that's the thing. These kids needs to be at school doing social interactions with other kids.
Kids are brutal.
Yeah, right.
Kids are brutal. They're so malicious and unforgiving.
And judgmental.
Very.
I am judgmental at some point, but
look, I'm pretty sure that I was a turd in high school too, but I didn't bully people. So, when I was in school to now, I feel like kids have gotten a little bit more malicious. Because we've got the social media platforms, like where they can record each other
and express themselves like no one's looking.
Well, these are horror stories that hopefully, they haven't happened to anyone that we know of. But, you hear of these stories where these kids record things happening in school and they post them and they go viral. And then there's this kid who is the center of negative attention.
Right.
But, so I feel like social media is kind of a good and a bad thing. But Eli, he's a quiet kid and he's very loving and caring, and he seems to have a good niche or a good group of kids that he fits in with that understand that he's a little bit different, and they don't force him to play games. They just kind of go, we're going to do this. Yeah. If you want to play with us, you can. And they'll start playing, and you'll see Eli kind of hanging around just outside the group while they're playing their game. And they'll be playing like swords, pretend swords, but if there's a stupid sandpit and, you know, they're digging holes and...
As long as it's doing the social interaction, I mean, that's very important in terms of if you want to, you know, you want to impose a daily living skill, but because that's a daily living skill.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Well, humans are a social animal, right? So we don't really tend to function right if we're not social.
Yeah.
I mean, look what happens if you're a hermit. You go,
you gotta think of
a little
other
crazy.
Stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think that maybe if you're wired differently, maybe that doesn't apply. Maybe he'll be fine.
Is your son, is he eligible for ORS? ORS? What's the terminology for that? That's the funding that you will have, your son had or has high needs support and you have teacher aid.
I don't know. So Bernice, the teacher, she said that we were eligible for support funding. So maybe that's the same thing. But I think the schools have their own funding, or it's like allocated depending on how high the need is for it.
Do you think Eli has high needs or?
Eli's not high needs.
Very high needs.
So because we did ask about should he have a minder at school, and the teachers kind of said, well, he's kind of too high functioning for that. Like he can do the math, he can read, he can write, he can do everything up to his age. So
it's okay.
He's okay. So like, you know, I guess if they were going to grade him, he would be, he's at the appropriate level for his age. But it's just his social and some areas reading comprehension. So he can read a book and he can tell you what happened in it. But if you were to quiz him and say, what do you think the main character got out of this? What was the lesson? That he wouldn't be able to tell you. He would just be like, oh, he played with a red ball. So he can tell you everything that he read, but he can't comprehend
the story.
He can't put two and two together and give you an answer. So he really struggles with the reading comprehension.
I think it's
quite normal.
Normal.
Yeah. But everything else, like math, he's quite good at. He does get quite negative about some of his math works.
Or funding to the support from the Ministry of Education, like we just learned about that from the training. So here's the kicker. So we went to this training and then the facilitator just mentioned about the funding and stuff like that. And then because they know my son, so she did mention about, your son might be eligible for an ORS. And then we said like, so what's an ORS? So this is the funding to have a teacher aid. Cutting the story short, when our Ministry of Education support got back to us and then they visited us, they were talking about the plan and goals. Me and my wife did mention about the funding, like how about our ORS or the ongoing resourcing scheme. So is it something that my son Ariel can leverage on or can also apply on? Oh yes, maybe we can also try that. I mean, like, should you be telling us, or why are we telling you? I mean, why is it the other way around? I mean, so my wife and I were laughing after that, like, okay, so what has happened? We don't know.
It's bad, eh?
Yeah. So, I mean, based on their assessment on the papers that they have, they should have already like assessed like, potentially we can try that, and then we can suggest that to you as a parent rather than parents suggesting or recommending that to the support.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but if you hadn't done that, do you think you would have ever found out about the funding? Because
no,
we didn't know about any type of funding, and it was just happened to be a comment that I made in passing to Bernice.
Right.
And she said, but have you applied for the funding that you can get? Because your child is registered ASD. He's registered. He's on the system. Yeah.
Wow.
I know, right?
Okay, we have a list of people here that.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
If you want to get funding, you have to be registered first. Please fill out a form.
All right.
But yeah, she said because he's on the
so
system.
Okay.
You can apply for funding.
Right.
And I said, no, I had no idea. There's nowhere is that information available or that I have seen. It needs to be obvious.
Yeah.
I feel like if anyone was going to find this, it would have been me because I know where to look. And remember, I used to work for medical counsel as well.
And you should know about that.
So these are things, that I feel like should be quite obvious to someone who's been working in fields like myself. But I didn't know about it. So if I don't know about it, how will all these other people
parents,
kind of go without knowing about it as well? And I think maybe GPs need to have access to this information.
Fight Takiwātanga is different. If you fail with one strategy, don't stop. Keep moving forward. Always remember that for every failure you encounter is one step closer to your success. Thanks for tuning in. Until next time, me muto te whakawa haere. Let's stop judging others. Me mahi tahi tato. Let's all work together. Kia maya, kia kaha, be brave and be strong.
Are you crazy? I feel like that's opposite. I feel like if you say what you really want to say in the US, you'll get sued or cancelled. Remember that cancel culture is happening right now, and it's because people feel like their opinion matters more than someone else's. In New Zealand, you're much more free to speak your mind without getting hassled because we're sort of more open and open-minded about things.
That's my problem. I mean, what? Sorry, I keep on moving. This is how professional I am, You fix
works.
it. Yeah, it's working. So.
Yeah, I was kind of worried if I was chewing on it, would it pick up on the microphone?
No.
So you'd hear this really annoying sound in the background.
Yeah, I can put that as well. See, I told you I'm so professional, right? I can remove all the. No, I'm not gonna remove all the names because I don't know how to do it. So. In the description.
Oh, yes, sweet.
Yeah.